remember, we brought you this story as soon as it hit local news. A young lady at a Popeyes fast food restaurant, physically assaulted, hair ripped from her very head. Physically assaulted, according to the police report that we have, by members of the employment staff at Popeyes, led by a shift manager. Well, we actually have the young lady on the program today for an in-depth exclusive interview. Miss Denetra Dawson was the victim of that horrible, tragic situation. And her attorneys are here as well. Attorney Davis, we also have Attorney Ed Jones, and we have Law Clerk Daryl Ford. Thank you all for being on the program. Wish it was under better circumstances. Due to the sound issue, I want to go to Attorney Davis first, and then I'm going to go to Ms. Dawson. Attorney Davis, when you received this information, it was somewhat dated because it had happened prior to our knowledge of it in the media. Tell us about how you came into receipt of this information and what was your initial sentiment when you saw the footage?
Well, again, Dr. Richey, thank you for having us. We appreciate it. It really was quite shocking, to be quite frank with you. Ms. Dawson came to us and we really, sought out to do our due diligence and to, confirm all that she was sharing with us. And so we requested the video footage from Popeyes. We've requested it from the Solicitor General who are prosecuting the Popeyes employees who were involved. And I just found it, difficult to believe. And then, as we put it all together and continued to work with Ms. Dawson, it became clear that she was attacked largely because they wanted her to move her car because she was backing up their drive-through number. She was having it increase because she's trying to correct her order. So this was just really, for me, we've been doing this over 20 years, very, very different to have a Popeyes or any fast food restaurant really not properly trained. They did not do a proper background check because the shift manager that was really one of the ringleaders had a history of this kind of violence, assaults, and a criminal record that again should have been looked at. And again, we are at our firm, we employ people who have criminal backgrounds, so that's not an issue. It's the position that you put them in and the stress that you put them under, which concerned us.
I want to do this. Let's go to I think we have a photo of the injuries that Ms. Dawson sustained. Now, that looks to be not only painful, but also is a difficult thing to live with just in life, to have your hair ripped from your head in that fashion and having to go through life like that, at least for a period of time. Ms. Dawson, I know there's a lawsuit now, and that lawsuit was recently filed. So I understand that you cannot get into the play-by-play of what took place. We respect the authority of the court. But I do want to ask you about basically your road to recovery. How did you feel when this initially happened? How has this adversely impacted you?
I was scared. I thought I was gonna lose my life. Embarrassed. Felt like something was stolen from me, basically my identity. And I take very pride in my hair. So to have that much gone, it do a lot to me. So I talk to my therapist on a daily basis because I can't get certain hairstyles.
Wow. Let me go to Attorney Ed Jones. Attorney Jones, naturally, this is something that anybody would say, whoa, wait, that's completely out of line for employees to do. As Attorney Davis said, there was a lack of adherence to normative protocol to make sure that you are employing individuals who are at least safe for the community. And as Attorney Davis said, there's no prohibition to hiring those who have a criminal background. You just have to know what it is and make sure that there's some mitigation so that nothing happens adverse to the customer. When you saw this case, sir, what was your first impression?
Initially, Dr. Rich, it seems unbelievable that this type of attack can happen in our society, and it's absolutely abhorrent. What we have is basically a pressure cooker that these employees at fast food restaurants now are dealing with, because since the COVID pandemic hit, all the industries are trying to scramble to figure out how they can maintain their business with limited contact. For the fast food industry, it was let's maximize our drive-thrus. But what Popeyes has done is prioritize speed of service through the drive-thru over due diligence. A simple background check would have put them on alert that we might have an individual that we might not want to put in a pressure cooker, especially with the type of background that they have. So it's unbelievable to me that they would ignore that at the outset, even if they found out later. To retain that type of person in that type of environment absolutely is unreasonable, and it goes against all that Georgia law stands for. So we think Popeyes is responsible for its actions and its role in this.
There's a term called negligent hire, and then you have negligent retention once you are aware, obviously, of a person's proclivity to a particular type of behavior. And once again, I want to state for the record, this is not about being adverse to hiring people with a criminal background check. I have individuals who work for me that have criminal backgrounds. So does the Davis Bozeman firm. That's not an issue. But you got to know your people so that you can put them in the best environment to win, to thrive, to be successful. Let me go to you, Attorney Davis. You said something that I think is worth highlighting, because I am familiar with the practice, and we talked about it here on Indisputable, where there's basically a focus and I guess you would call it performance ratio connected to the time it takes to leave the drive-thru. And I have literally been at a drive-thru. They were late with an order, and the young man at the drive-thru window said, "Hey, can you pull up just a little bit, because I'm now being penalized." I had no idea what he was talking about. It made no sense to me. I looked it up, and what you're talking about is the system that they use. Explain that system to us.
So the process is, from the time you enter the drive-through line, they are being timed. And so part of how each employee and that shift is being evaluated is based on how quickly they're able to move them through that line. And so in our lawsuit, we lay out kind of the roadmap of how this has evolved and how significant it is now. They do double drive-through lines now. I mean, everybody knows and understands this. And as you stated, Dr. Richey, the most practical move was for them to just say, "Ma'am, can you pull up so we can keep our line moving, and then we'll come out and bring you your corrected order." Instead, they exit the Popeyes. They physically come out, get behind her car, and like, "You're gonna move your car," and they decide that they're going to help her move her car. One of them jump into the vehicle, physically open up her passenger side door, jump in. The other one opens up her driver's side door, and the three of them attack her simultaneously in concert. And so this is the kind of violence that you just would expect a corporation such as Popeyes to foresee. This is foreseeable, and it should have been addressed. And unfortunately, Ms. Dawson she was terrified. She thought that she was going to be killed.
Ms. Dawson, I heard you say in a previous interview, basically, you didn't know if you were going to be able to see your family again in the midst of this fight. Did anyone offer an apology? Did Popeyes corporate reach out and say, "Listen, we're so sorry that this happened to you"?
No, sir.
To Attorney Davis, at this point, you all have sued, I think, the company that owns the franchisee. There's a lawsuit against the individuals who were acting as agents of this particular Popeyes. What is your hope at the end of this lawsuit? What do you want to change?
We want corporations like Popeyes to understand that they have a responsibility to the community. In addition to hiring community members, they have a responsibility to make sure that every customer is safe. And that starts with who you hire, how you train and supervise. That's the other piece, is that the supervision. And so in this, we would hope that this will close with a message being sent to other corporations that you have to be more cognizant of that your hiring practices, your training, and your supervision. That's the only way that we'll be able to avoid something as significant as this. This is something that Ms. Dawson has to live with the rest of her life. And people they think that, oh, it's just hair, it'll grow back. But it's really more than that. It's particularly in the African-American community, a woman's hair is her crown, and that they would literally rip her crown off of her head is an attack on her personhood.
I'm sure it was obviously extremely, not only physically painful, but psychologically painful and damaging. Ms. Dawson, for those who are supporting you around the world, what would you like to say to them right now?
Thank you guys, and just keep supporting me and bring awareness that nothing like this happened again.
Thank you so much. To Attorney Ed Jones, in parting, what would you like to see? I heard what Attorney Davis said. What would you like to see at the conclusion of this lawsuit?
Again, we want corporations as citizens of our state to operate just like every other citizen, with the responsibility that to other people, not to harm them, to act reasonably. That's all that we can expect under Georgia law. That's what we want. And this was a totally unreasonable reaction from these employees and this corporation. And they have to understand that, and we hope that they ultimately will come to that understanding.
All right, and lastly, Attorney Davis, do you think the franchisee Popeyes will act in good faith now that this lawsuit has been filed?
We're hopeful. We're very hopeful. We file lawsuits and we do what we do really as a last resort. Our first attempt is always to reach out and to try to address these issues so that it does not have to become a public spectacle. But unfortunately, that was not, and the opportunity was not presented. We were not able to address this, and so here we are. And so we're moving in good faith. We're hopeful that we'll hear from them and we'll be able to figure out a way forward that addresses this and that sends a message. And again, says to Ms. Dawson that what happened to you was unacceptable, that it should not have happened, and that we want to try to make you as whole as we can through this process.
And let me make sure we got this right. Even after the arrest, the footage, the obvious violations of law being perpetrated by agents of that company, you all attempted to have direct conversation. You attempted to have direct remedy, and whatever happened in that attempt led to this current lawsuit. Am I about right on that summary?
You're absolutely correct. And again, our hope is always, and unfortunately, attorneys get a bad rap. Our attempt is about, we are here to help repair. When there is an injury in our community, the work that we do is to attempt to repair that injury by an acknowledgement. Part of what people who hire us, their reason for hiring is they're looking because they need somebody to stand up and fight because they're not being heard. And she has not been heard. And so now it is our job to amplify the message so that not only Popeyes hears her, but the world can hear her clear that this should not have happened and that the injury that she has suffered must be rectified.
We're very thankful for law firms like Davis Bozeman, and also to Attorney Davis, Attorney Jones, to law clerk Daryl Ford. We appreciate your representation and your advocacy for the client. And to Ms. Dawson, your future is bright. I just know you're in very good hands with these attorneys. They have a stellar reputation. I've known them for many years, very thankful for their continued advocacy for communities that are historically disenfranchised. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you, Dr. Richey.
We appreciate you, appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.